Can we truly know God? Or, perhaps, is God not something to be known outside of us, but rather something we carry deep within? For centuries, people have looked to the skies, to ancient texts, and to wise teachers for answers. But what if the greatest revelation about the divine lies not in distant heavens, but in the hidden chambers of the human heart and mind? Imagine for a moment that the stories of gods and goddesses, of powerful spirits and sacred beings, are not just old tales. Imagine they are echoes of something much older, much deeper, pulsing within each of us. This is the radical idea that Carl Jung, a brilliant thinker, dared to explore. He wasn't a priest or a preacher, but a doctor of the mind. Yet, his journey into the human spirit led him to a profound understanding of what God truly means, not just for churches, but for every single person. Jung didn't set out to prove or disprove God's existence in the way religions often do. Instead, he looked at how the idea of God lives inside us, how it shapes our thoughts, our dreams, and even our deepest fears. He saw that across all cultures, in all times, people have felt this powerful pull towards something bigger than themselves. This feeling, this inner knowing, was what fascinated him. He wondered, if everyone, everywhere, seems to have a need for something divine, where does that need come from? Is it taught, or is it born with us? What if the images of God that we see in art, hear in music, and read in stories are not just made-up tales, but clues to a universal pattern etched into the very fabric of our minds? This is where Jung's work becomes truly magical. He invites us on a journey, not to a distant paradise, but into the vast, mysterious landscape of our own souls. He suggests that the God we seek is often a reflection, a powerful symbol, of the most whole and complete version of ourselves. It's a concept that challenges everything we thought we knew, pulling us inward to find answers we once sought only in the outside world. It's a path to understanding the divine not as a distant ruler, but as a living, breathing force within our own psychology. To truly grasp this profound shift in thinking, we must first understand the man behind these ideas, Carl Gustav Jung. Born in Switzerland in 1875, Jung was not just any thinker, he was a pioneering doctor, a deep explorer of the human mind, and a man whose own life was marked by intense spiritual experiences. His father was a pastor, and his home was filled with religious ideas, but young Carl found himself questioning them early on. He saw that many traditional beliefs didn't quite fit with the complex, often messy, reality of people's inner lives. Jung started as a student of medicine and later became a psychiatrist, someone who helps people with their minds. He worked closely with Sigmund Freud, the famous founder of psychoanalysis, for a time. But while Freud mostly looked at personal experiences and hidden wishes from childhood, Jung felt there was something even bigger at play. He noticed that his patients, no matter where they came from, often shared similar dreams, symbols, and deep feelings that couldn't be explained by their own lives alone. This observation was a turning point. It pushed him beyond the everyday workings of the mind and into a realm he called the collective unconscious. This wasn't just a fancy phrase. It was his way of saying that deep inside all of us, there's a shared library of human experience, a kind of ancient memory that we all carry. It's like having access to all the stories, symbols, and big ideas that humanity has ever thought or felt. Why is this important for understanding what Jung thought about God? Because Jung believed that our spiritual longings, our ideas of God, and our sense of the divine spring from this very deep, shared place. He wasn't talking about religion in the usual sense, with rules and churches. He was talking about the raw, powerful, and very real human experience of something sacred, something mysterious. For Jung, spirituality wasn't just something you believed in, it was something that lived and breathed within your own soul, a vital part of what makes us human. His insights offer a bridge between the world of science and the world of spirit, showing how our inner lives are deeply connected to the grand tapestry of human myth and meaning. So, if our spiritual yearnings come from this deep, shared well of human experience, the collective unconscious, then what exactly is this God that Jung spoke of? Here's where his most famous idea comes into play: the archetype. Think of an archetype as a kind of universal blueprint or pattern. It's not a fully formed image, but a mold, a tendency to imagine certain things in certain ways. To make it simpler, think about stories. Everywhere in the world, you find stories about a hero. This hero goes on a journey, faces dangers, and comes back changed. Or think about a wise old man who offers advice, or a great mother who cares for everyone. These are archetypes. They aren't specific people, but universal patterns of characters and experiences that human minds tend to create and understand. We see them in myths, fairy tales, and even modern movies. We don't have to be taught these patterns, they just seem to make sense to us. Jung believed that God is one such archetype. It's not about saying God doesn't exist outside of us. It's about recognizing that the idea of God, the experience of the divine, is a powerful, deeply rooted pattern in the human mind. This God archetype is our built-in capacity to imagine and relate to something ultimate, perfect, and all-powerful. It's why ancient cultures, isolated from each other, often created similar stories of creation, of divine judgment, or of a guiding spirit. So, if God is an archetype, a universal pattern, where exactly do these patterns live? This brings us to one of Jung's most fascinating and profound ideas: the collective unconscious. Imagine your own personal mind as a house. You have rooms filled with your memories, your daily thoughts, your feelings. This is your personal unconscious and conscious mind. But beneath this house, there's a vast, ancient basement, much larger than your house itself. This basement connects to every other house's basement, forming one giant, shared underground world. This is the collective unconscious. It's a deep, hidden part of our minds that we don't usually know about, but it strongly affects us. It's like a shared dream world, a library of all human experiences that has been built up over millions of years. This isn't something you learn in school. It's something you're born with, passed down through generations, like how we are born with the ability to walk or talk. It's a treasure chest of instincts, symbols, and patterns that are common to all humanity. Think of it as the spiritual DNA of humankind. Just as your body carries the blueprint for your physical form, your mind carries the blueprint for universal psychological patterns. In this deep, shared space, the archetypes, like the hero, the wise old man, the great mother, and yes, the God archetype, live and wait to be awakened. They are not memories of specific events, but rather the tendency to create and experience certain themes and symbols. When you dream of flying, or falling, or meeting a mysterious guide, these might not just be random thoughts. They could be echoes from this collective unconscious, bringing forth archetypal patterns. These patterns emerge in our dreams, our myths, our stories, and even in our deepest spiritual yearnings. They provide the framework for our understanding of the world, even before we have specific experiences. The collective unconscious is the grand stage upon which the drama of human spiritual life plays out, offering a deep connection to all who have come before us and all who will come after. If the collective unconscious is this vast, shared well of human spirit, and that God archetype lives within it, then what does this mean for our personal experience of the divine? Jung believed that our deepest, most meaningful encounters with God don't just come from outside ourselves, from churches, holy books, or wise teachers, but very much from within. It's an inner event, a powerful realization that bubbles up from the depths of our own being. Think of it like this: a beautiful sunset might make you feel a sense of wonder, a connection to something grand and eternal. A piece of music might move you to tears, touching a part of you that feels sacred. Or perhaps a moment of deep, quiet reflection brings a sudden feeling of peace and understanding. For Jung, these are not just fleeting emotions. They are glimpses, echoes, of the God archetype being activated within you. They are moments when the inner pattern of the divine connects with your conscious mind. Jung wasn't saying that there isn't a God outside of us. He was simply saying that the experience of God, the psychological reality of it, is something profoundly personal and internal. It's how we connect to that universal pattern of ultimate meaning and wholeness that resides in the collective unconscious. This means that your spiritual journey isn't just about following external rules or beliefs. It's about listening to the whispers of your own soul, recognizing the divine language of your own dreams, feelings, and intuitions. This inner experience is often what gives life meaning, a sense of purpose, and a feeling of being connected to something much larger than our individual selves. It's the source of inspiration, hope, and even a profound sense of healing. When we feel lost or without direction, it's often this inner, God archetype, that calls us to find our way back, to seek wholeness and integration within ourselves. For Jung, to truly know God was, in a very real sense, to truly know oneself at the deepest possible level. If the experience of God is so deeply personal and internal, what is its ultimate source within us? For Jung, the most powerful and central archetype of all is the self. The self is not just your everyday ego, the part of you that says, I. Instead, think of the self as the blueprint for your entire being, the whole of who you are, your conscious mind, your personal unconscious, and your connection to the collective unconscious. It's the organizing center of your psyche, always pushing you towards wholeness and completeness. Imagine a perfect circle with a dot in the middle. The circle represents your entire being, and the dot is the self, the very heart and center that holds everything together and gives it meaning. It's the inner guide that knows your true potential, even when you don't. Jung saw the self as the ultimate goal of human development, a kind of inner compass guiding us towards becoming truly ourselves. What's truly fascinating is how Jung saw the self as being very similar to the traditional idea of God. Across many cultures, God is described as omnipotent, all-powerful, omniscient, all-knowing, and omnipresent, everywhere. These are qualities of ultimate wholeness and perfection. Jung observed that the self-archetype functions in a similar way within our psyche. It's the part of us that holds all the opposing forces, good and bad, light and dark, in a unified way. It's the inner image of completeness. So, when people pray, meditate, or seek spiritual experiences, they are often, unknowingly, trying to connect with this inner self, this blueprint for their own wholeness. The longing for God, in Jungian terms, can be understood as the psyche's natural pull towards its own center, its own self. It's the drive to integrate all parts of ourselves, to become whole and complete. The symbols of God that appear in our dreams, myths, and religions are often expressions of this powerful self-archetype trying to guide us towards our own unique path of becoming. If the self is our inner blueprint for wholeness, akin to the idea of God, how do we actually see or hear this inner voice? Jung found the answer in the rich tapestry of human symbolism and mythology. Think about all the ancient stories, the myths passed down through generations, the symbols carved into stone or painted in caves. From the grand tales of creation to the simple imagery in a dream, these are not just fanciful inventions. For Jung, they are the language of the unconscious mind, the way archetypes express themselves. Across different cultures, even those that never met each other, we find strikingly similar symbols and stories about the divine. The sun god, the great Mother Earth, the wise old creator, the hero who sacrifices himself and is reborn, these patterns appear again and again. Why? Because they are all expressions of the underlying archetypes within the collective unconscious. The God archetype and the self archetype don't appear as a clear picture in our minds. Instead, they manifest as symbols that carry deep meaning and feeling. For example, a mandala, a circular design often used in Eastern religions, is a symbol of wholeness and unity. Jung saw mandalas appearing in his patients' dreams and art when they were trying to find their center and integrate different parts of themselves. He realized this was a spontaneous expression of the self archetype, pushing towards completeness. Similarly, images of a divine king, a cosmic tree, or a sacred mountain are all different ways that the human mind has tried to grasp the vastness and power of the divine. These myths and symbols are like mirrors. They reflect back to us the patterns of our own inner world, helping us understand our place in the universe and our journey towards becoming whole. They are not just stories about gods and heroes. They are stories about us, about the deep psychological truths that guide our lives. By studying these universal symbols, Jung showed us how humanity has always been trying to understand the divine, not just as an external force, but as an integral part of our own psyche. When we think of God, we often imagine pure goodness, light, and perfection. But Jung's understanding of the divine, as an inner psychological reality, was much more complex and whole. For him, a truly complete picture of the divine, and of ourselves, had to include the dark parts too. This brings us to another key archetype, the shadow. The shadow is like a hidden twin within us. It's all the parts of ourselves that we don't like, that we've pushed away, or that society tells us are bad, our anger, our selfishness, our jealousy, our weaknesses. We tend to hide these aspects, even from ourselves, tucking them away in our personal unconscious. But these parts don't just disappear, they lurk in the shadows, waiting. Jung believed that to truly become whole, to connect with the self-archetype, which, remember, is akin to God, we must acknowledge and integrate our shadow. We can't pretend these parts don't exist. If we do, they might pop out in unexpected ways, causing problems in our lives and relationships. Think of someone who always projects their anger onto others, or who secretly acts out impulses they publicly condemn. That's the unacknowledged shadow at work. Now, how does this relate to God? For Jung, the God archetype, within us, representing ultimate wholeness, must include all aspects of existence, both light and dark. Many traditional religions struggle with the problem of evil. If God is all good, why is there suffering and badness in the world? Jung suggested that psychologically, the divine image we carry needs to be big enough to hold these opposites. The self-archetype, as the blueprint for our entire being, embraces both our virtues and our flaws, our light and our shadow. This doesn't mean we should act on our negative impulses. Instead, it means we must know them, understand them, and find a way to integrate them consciously. Only by facing our own shadows can we truly approach wholeness and experience the full, complex, and sometimes challenging reality of the divine within. It's a call to profound self-honesty, revealing that even in our darkest corners, there is a path towards greater understanding and completeness. So, if the self is our inner compass towards wholeness, and we must even embrace our shadow to truly see it, how do we actually do this? This brings us to Jung's most important concept for personal growth, individuation. Individuation is the lifelong journey of becoming your true, whole self. It's not about becoming selfish or isolated, it's about becoming a unique, complete individual, fully aware of who you are, including your light and your shadow, and how you connect to the wider world. Imagine a seed that holds the blueprint for a magnificent tree. The seed doesn't become a tree overnight. It needs soil, water, sunlight, and time to grow, to push its roots deep and stretch its branches high. Individuation is like that process for a human being. It's the natural unfolding of your unique potential, guided by the self-archetype. It's a journey of self-discovery where you slowly, consciously, bring together all the different parts of your personality, your conscious thoughts, your personal memories, your dreams, your hidden fears, and even those universal archetypal patterns. This journey is not always easy. It involves facing uncomfortable truths, questioning old beliefs, and sometimes feeling lost. But it is precisely through this process that we find deep meaning in life. When we integrate our shadow, for example, we don't just become better people, we become more authentic, more real, and more complete. We understand ourselves more fully, which helps us understand others and the world around us. And this is where the connection to the divine becomes clear. For Jung, the urge to individuate, to become whole, is itself a spiritual longing. It's the psyche's innate drive to realize the self, which, as we discussed, is psychologically akin to the image of God. By engaging in this journey, by seeking to understand and integrate all aspects of ourselves, we are, in essence, aligning with the divine pattern within. We are finding our unique way to experience and express that universal sense of ultimate meaning and completeness. Individuation is not just therapy, it is a sacred path, a personal quest to embody the divine potential inherent in every human soul. It's important to make a clear distinction here, one that Jung himself emphasized. His view of God was primarily a psychological one, not a religious dogma. Jung was not trying to start a new religion, nor was he trying to prove or disprove the existence of a God in the traditional sense. He was a scientist of the soul, observing how the idea and experience of the divine functioned within the human mind. Think of it this way: a doctor studies the human body. They can describe how your heart pumps blood, how your brain sends signals, and how your eyes see light. They can explain the mechanisms of life. Jung was doing something similar for the inner life. He observed that humans, universally, have a strong need for meaning, for wholeness, and for connecting to something transcendent. This need, and the patterns it creates in our minds, the archetypes like God and the self, was his focus. So, when Jung spoke of God, he was often referring to the God image within the psyche. This inner image is a powerful force, a psychological reality that shapes our lives whether we are religious or not. It's the inner drive towards completeness, the source of our deepest values, and the symbolic representation of ultimate meaning. For someone who is religious, their personal God, be it Christian, Muslim, Hindu, etc., would be one specific expression of this universal God image. For someone who isn't religious, this inner drive might show up as a passion for art, science, nature, or a deep sense of moral purpose. Jung understood that traditional religions offer structures, stories, and rituals that help people connect with this inner psychological reality. They provide a language and a pathway. However, his work also suggests that even without these external forms, the human psyche will still seek out and create ways to express this fundamental need for the divine. It's a testament to the idea that spirituality is woven into the very fabric of our being, a psychological truth that transcends specific doctrines and creeds. His insights allow us to explore the spiritual dimension of life from a deeply personal and scientifically informed perspective, bridging the gap between faith and the workings of the mind. If the divine resides as a psychological reality within us, how does this inner world communicate? For Jung, one of the most direct and potent ways is through our dreams and visions. He believed that dreams are not just random pictures or leftover thoughts from the day. They are meaningful messages from our unconscious mind, offering wisdom and guidance that our conscious mind might miss. Imagine dreams as letters from your deeper self. They often speak in symbols, riddles, and images that can seem strange at first, but when understood, they reveal powerful insights about your inner life, your challenges, and your path toward wholeness. In dreams, the archetypes, including the God archetype and the self, often appear. You might not dream of God directly, but you might dream of a wise old man, a radiant light, a perfect circle, a powerful animal, or a majestic tree. These are symbolic ways your unconscious is trying to show you patterns of ultimate meaning and integration. Jung spent his life studying thousands of dreams from his patients, and he saw these universal patterns emerge again and again. He noticed that people struggling to find purpose often dreamed of journeys, quests, or seeking lost treasures. Those trying to understand their inner conflicts might dream of battles between opposing forces. These weren't just personal stories. They were echoes of ancient myths, reflecting humanity's shared spiritual journey. Visions, though less common for most people, are even more intense forms of these messages. They can be sudden, powerful images or feelings that break through from the unconscious, bringing with them a profound sense of meaning or a spiritual revelation. Jung himself had many powerful visions that shaped his understanding of the psyche and the divine. Paying attention to our dreams and inner visions is like listening to the whispers of the divine within. It's a way to tune into the wisdom of the collective unconscious and connect with the self, our inner guide towards completeness. By honoring these messages, we can gain a deeper understanding of our own spiritual path and how the idea of God, in all its forms, is actively shaping our inner and outer worlds. It's a personal oracle, always working to bring us closer to our true selves. One of the most challenging questions for any spiritual path is the problem of evil. If there is a good God, why is there suffering, injustice, and darkness in the world? Jung, with his deep dive into the human psyche, didn't shy away from this difficult question. In fact, he believed that to truly grasp the archetypal God image within us, we must wrestle with the reality of both good and evil. Remember the shadow archetype? It's the part of us that holds everything we deem bad or unacceptable. For Jung, the self-archetype, which represents our wholeness and is akin to the psychological image of God, cannot be truly whole if it only includes light and goodness. A truly complete image of the divine, as it exists in the human psyche, must be big enough to contain all opposites, not just good, but also evil, not just light, but also darkness, not just creation, but also destruction. This is a profound and often uncomfortable idea. It doesn't mean that Jung thought evil was good, or that we should act on destructive impulses. Instead, it means acknowledging that these opposing forces are inherent parts of the human experience, and therefore, are reflected in our deepest archetypal patterns. To deny the existence of evil, either in ourselves or in the world, is to deny a part of reality, and to prevent ourselves from becoming truly whole. Think about the myths that depict gods with both benevolent and wrathful aspects, or creation stories that involve both light and chaos. These are not just primitive beliefs. They are symbolic attempts by the human psyche to comprehend a divine reality that is truly all-encompassing. For Jung, a God that is only good is an incomplete God, one that doesn't fully reflect the totality of human experience. By facing the problem of evil, by acknowledging our own shadow and the dark aspects of life, we move closer to a more mature and integrated understanding of the divine within. It's a challenging path, but it leads to a profound sense of psychological completeness, where we can hold the tension of opposites and find a deeper, more realistic wisdom. This isn't about glorifying evil, but about integrating it into a larger picture of meaning and existence, a process crucial for true individuation. In a world that often feels fast, confusing, and disconnected, why do Jung's ancient insights about God still matter today? His ideas offer a powerful map for navigating the challenges of modern life, especially for those seeking deeper meaning beyond superficial pleasures or rigid doctrines. Many people today feel a spiritual hunger but can't connect with traditional religious paths. Jung's work provides an alternative. It shows that spirituality isn't just about belonging to a church or following a set of rules. It's about a fundamental human need for wholeness, for connection to something greater, and for understanding the vast universe within ourselves. He frees us to explore our spiritual nature in a way that feels authentic and deeply personal. His concept of the collective unconscious helps us understand why certain stories, symbols, and dreams resonate so deeply, even if we've never encountered them before. It explains the universal patterns in human experience, giving us a sense of belonging to something much larger than our individual lives. In a fragmented world, this sense of universal connection can be incredibly grounding. Moreover, Jung's emphasis on individuation, the journey of becoming your whole self, including facing your shadow, is more relevant than ever. In an age where we're often encouraged to present only our best selves online, and to avoid discomfort, Jung reminds us that true growth comes from embracing all aspects of who we are. It teaches us self-acceptance, resilience, and a deeper compassion for ourselves and others. His ideas also help bridge the gap between science and spirituality. By viewing the divine as a psychological reality, Jung offers a framework where inner experience can be explored with seriousness and depth, without needing to reject reason or scientific inquiry. It allows for a richness of understanding that traditional psychology often overlooks and traditional theology sometimes struggles to articulate in a modern context. Ultimately, Jung's thinking about God is important because it invites each of us on a profound personal quest. It's a call to look inward, to listen to our dreams, to understand our myths, and to embark on the courageous journey of becoming fully ourselves. In doing so, we don't just find ourselves, we uncover a deep, living source of meaning and purpose that has always been waiting within. Now that we've journeyed through some of Jung's most profound ideas about God, the archetypes, and the collective unconscious, it's time to bring these insights back to your own life. This isn't just about abstract theories. It's about understanding the very real patterns that shape your inner world. Take a moment to simply reflect. What are your deepest longings for meaning and connection? Have you ever had a moment of profound awe, a feeling of being part of something vast and sacred, whether it was in nature, through art, or in a quiet moment of introspection? For Jung, these are not random occurrences. They are whispers from your inner self, activations of the God archetype within your own psyche. What does God mean to you personally? Perhaps you grew up with a specific religious idea, or perhaps you've felt a strong disconnect from it. Jung's work invites you to look beyond predefined answers and explore your own psychological experience of the divine. Does it appear in your dreams as a guiding figure, a powerful symbol, or a sense of profound unity? Do you find it in your creative impulses, your acts of compassion, or your search for truth? Consider the myths and stories that resonate most deeply with you. Are there heroes whose journeys feel like your own? Are there symbols that repeatedly appear in your thoughts or feelings? These are clues, guiding you towards the universal patterns that are alive within your collective unconscious. And what about your shadow? Are there parts of yourself that you've pushed away, disliked, or judged? Jung reminds us that embracing these aspects, not to act them out, but to understand them, is a crucial step towards becoming a complete, individuated self. It's in this honest self-reflection that we begin to see the divine not as an idealized, distant perfection, but as a living, dynamic force that includes all aspects of existence. This journey is yours alone, a unique path to uncovering the sacred dimensions of your own being. Jung offers a lens, a way of seeing, but the landscape you explore is your very own soul. What wonders might you find if you dare to look within? So, we've journeyed deep into the mind of Carl Jung, exploring his revolutionary ideas about God not as a distant figure, but as a profound psychological reality within us. We've seen how archetypes, the collective unconscious, and the powerful self-archetype shape our spiritual yearnings, appearing in our dreams, myths, and deepest experiences. We've even dared to consider the shadow, realizing that true wholeness embraces both light and dark. Jung's wisdom is an invitation, not a command. It doesn't tell you what to believe, but rather how to explore the vast, sacred landscape of your own inner world. It suggests that the quest for God is, at its heart, a quest for self-knowledge, a journey of individuation to become the most complete and authentic version of yourself. As you move forward from this moment, consider this: what if the greatest temple, the most profound scripture, and the wisest guru are all waiting within you? What if the divine whispers not from distant mountaintops, but from the quiet chambers of your own heart? The journey to understand what Jung really thought about God is ultimately a journey to understand yourself. It is a path that calls for courage, curiosity, and a willingness to look beyond the surface. May you continue to explore the intricate patterns of your psyche, to listen to the language of your soul, and to discover the living, breathing mystery that is the divine within. What hidden truths await your inner gaze?